Welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, a weekly show helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. Today, episode 318, Setting Priorities. And now, Experience of the Soul.
Hello and welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host, and I'm so excited to be here in the studio today with my producer.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday to you. It is Monday, July 22nd. This is episode 318 of Experience of the Soul podcast. So happy to be here with you this morning. Hope everyone's doing well and enjoying summer. Of course, as always, before we get started, we want to do a couple of shout outs. Today, we are shouting out to YouTube viewer Karen Rigler, or Riegler.
I think it's Rigler.
Rigler. Okay, very good. Karen Rigler, who is very active on the YouTube, always commenting and engaging with us there, and we sure do appreciate that. So if you are listening to the podcast and you have not yet checked out the video podcast version, you can check that out every single week on the YouTube channel. It's Cynthia Alice Anderson. So you can look at us.
Yes. Hey, let us look at your mug. And well, somebody recently asked me, and I was glad they did because I had to double check. Are the show notes? They said, I watch on YouTube. I don't know what you guys are talking about, the show notes. And I said, well, it is there. You kind of have to click underneath, and depending on if you're looking at it on a phone, sometimes the notes are kind of hidden. But the thing we talk about with send us a text message, that is not available on YouTube. You have to do that like through Spotify or
that's only on the audio podcast platforms.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that. But yes, Karen, thank you so much for watching and listening, and prayers for you and your guitar playing. Karen's a talented musician as well. And so blessings to you, my friend. And we also want to do a shout out to Sean for Indiana, right? Hobart, Indiana.
Yeah, Hobart, Indiana.
I looked it up online. I've never been there. No, it's one of the few places I've not spent a lot of time in Indiana.
Yeah, me either.
But it looks beautiful. It looks really, really beautiful. Very community oriented.
The town of Hobart, yeah. Yeah,
it looks really nice, and it looks very community oriented. So our friends that are listening there, please let me know. There was a friend that that was listening somewhere in Indiana. And I said, I wonder who that is. We said it on the show, and she texted me, it's me.
Oh, nice.
Somebody, a friend of mine I didn't know was working out there at that time. So that was pretty cool. It's amazing like how specific, right, the stats are.
Yeah, definitely. It's so funny for me to be on this side of it now after being like, because I felt that way for so long. Like, and sometimes you guys would even like say you would even talk about me every once in a while. I'd be like, hey, they're talking about me.
That's me.
Yeah, I get the feeling. I get it. I know.
That is great. Well, and speaking of the show notes, friends, we're getting good feedback because we're starting to put a little more in there. Not only are we putting descriptions, but we're trying to get out playlists to you. You know, people are learning about me that I have a playlist for everything, and I really enjoy it because it helps me focus my mind on the things that matter most. And, for whatever I'm working with, like, I tell you what, let's get into the show because this is the show. I'm almost in it right now, right? Excellent. So, Sean, one more time, give us the title of today's show.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, everybody, to episode 318 of the Experience of the Soul podcast, Setting Priorities.
Setting priorities. Well, it's funny how often our chit chat that we really do not plan leads us into the topic for today. And that lets me know it's divine order. But what I started to mention is that I love making playlists of songs. In other words, I put a bunch of songs together and make a list for when I'm doing a specific activity. And for years when I had a horse, I would part of the work I would do is I had a little bit of a long drive to the barn because I live in the city, and you can't have a horse in the city. So you always have to drive to the ranch, to go be with your horse. And I went, many days a week. So I had a playlist I made called To the Barn. And then I had a playlist I made called Coming Home from the Barn. And that music on that playlist helped me shift my energy so that I was available, so that I was ready for the work I was going to do with that horse. So, what was I doing really? Well, I was setting my priorities for how I wanted to be, what my energy vibration was, how I was going to interact with the people and the animals there. Because animals and horses especially are very energy sensitive. I know cats and dogs are as well, so I want to include them in that. But horses have this heightened awareness. And not only that, they've got these noses that are, I don't know if you can see my hands, this long, and they can smell things coming from a quarter mile away. And so my intention in using that playlist was to get my mind in the right mindset. So today's show, Setting Priorities, is thinking about, being conscious of, deciding, what matters most right now in this moment, setting those priorities. What is my next step that's needed for my life, for my world? If I'm caring for my family or a loved one, how do I make that a priority in my life and world? And I think right now, or what I'm observing, I'll say, is that there is so much news and so many false negative messages coming our way that we're getting so off track and we're getting so distracted by the many, many voices that we forget to set our own priorities. And it includes goals for sure, but priorities is really deciding what matters most at this time, like in this very moment. For what is going to be expected of me of the next 2 or 3 days. How do I set those priorities? Or do I just, waltz in and expect everybody to do what I want? Or do I change myself? Do I set my energy? Do I set my consciousness? Do I do my work in consciousness to set my own priorities? What am I to do? How am I to be? What is going to be asked of me, needed of me? Where do I need to focus my energy? And for me, that has a lot to do with setting my priorities. Sometimes to, begin to get clear about that, we need to spend time, in the quiet. You hear me talk so often about setting your intention for the day or getting clear about what's yours to do before moving forward. And if you're not having some time every day to become more conscious, where am I and where do I need to be, then you are not setting priorities. But if in the morning you are setting your intention, you are mindful, you are beginning to set those intentions and move forward, you naturally are going to become more able to set your priorities, meaning what's most important to do at the time. What is your priority? In other words, what needs to happen next? What is my next step? And for some of us who are creatives and visionaries, we can see so far down the road, sometimes we forget to take the next logical step. We want to be in the vision, instantly. And I've had to really work with this. It's why I've created the Dream Big, Live Big program. It's why I created my intention journal, because those were the things that helped me set my course. If I know what's important right now, if I set that as a priority and I get that done, that moves me forward. And then that moves me forward. And then that moves me forward. But setting a priority, as I talk about it, I don't want you to think, oh, this is for business, or, oh, this is for only one part of my life. The number one priority for me is my spiritual growth. That being true, that's my top priority. I make sure I do it every day. Some element of my life will have time spent on my spiritual growth every single day. It could be breathing and meditation. It could be reading a spiritual book or memorizing a prayer or a poem that's spiritual. It could be writing spiritual ideas and listening to God's guidance for my life. It might be stopping constant messages coming in with television, phone, games, whatever. It might simply be stopping and breathing and being in the present. But because my spiritual work is my priority, every single day that's going to happen. And it will even help me set my other priorities. I've said it in many ways over the last several months. It must be working strongly in me, and I know it is in so many of my clients. And my client base, I'm so busy, I'm almost full. I think I've got like only 1 or 2 more spaces even available. And it's so interesting to watch the forward movement of the people that have put God first and their healing first in their life and world. It's been miraculous to watch the forward movement. They're getting their dream jobs. They're able to embrace life on life's terms, even when things are difficult, because their priorities are in the right place. So just breathe into that with me. Like, am I setting my priority? Do I know what matters most? Like what is my next step for me? And what I've learned is that if I try to move forward without starting with the spiritual, that moving forward is usually based in ego. It's usually based in what I want, not what is God asking of me. So there's nothing wrong with success. There's nothing wrong with, I'm not meaning that. I'm saying from the limited ego. So we start with spiritually. For me, that's my priority. And I want to really encourage you to think about this. I've had a couple conversations with people recently, and when I talk about my life, I'm not saying that's what you have to do. I'm saying that's what I do. That's what I help my clients do and people that take my classes. If you have another way, go for it. If it works for you, go for it. I just know for myself, for my life, my world, my family, my church, everything for me starts with prayer. It includes the spiritual. It includes meditation, journaling, intention setting. And then after that, I will know what matters most, right? So what I'm talking about, once again, is living from the soul. And when we start from soul, those priorities get clearer and clearer. That we will begin to do things that help us, that move us forward, that bless us, that also are difficult and cause us to grow. But we will know because we're able to chart our course, we're setting those priorities after we do our spiritual work. After we do our spiritual work. So I want you to think about if you're in business and you have a big meeting you're going to go into, how can you set your priorities for the day so that you're mentally, emotionally, physically prepared for that meeting? If you've been, gotten no sleep the night before, you had a few cocktails, you think you're going to do well in that meeting the next day? We know the answer to that. You might do all right because maybe you're used to that kind of activity, but ongoing, those priorities are off. Those priorities are off. But if you know you have a big meeting, you have the next day, that night before, you have a nice meal, you try to get extra rest, you get up a little earlier to set your intention, to do some deep breathing, to be centered, you arrive early so that you're grounded and not slamming into a meeting. How do you think that is going to go? I can tell you it will go way better because your priorities are in order. So think about, are you honoring yourself by setting your priorities? And you could hear when I describe those two options, which one is more honoring of you? Of course, the version where we're eating good food, we're getting good rest, we're honoring the process by showing up early. These are these become, if they're not for you already, very normal activities around honoring ourselves and setting priorities about what matters. We want to show up in our full self, bringing our full energy on board for whatever it is Spirit is asking of us. I was called in with a friend recently who was having some spiritual questions, and I won't go into the content, of course, but I love the question because he said, I want to talk about death, birth, and reincarnation. I said, is that all? I said we could talk for a month on that topic, and we only had an hour and a half to have that discussion. So before that discussion, I mentally prepared because that was a priority for me. This is somebody that I respect. It's somebody that I value in the world. And part of my priority was being present for him. And I went to his office to have this discussion because I wanted to serve him in this way. I never do that. But because of who he is in the world and all the great work he's doing, I said, I will come to you. I will come to you. Great connection. I mean, just beautiful. But my priorities were in the right order. So for me, it is starting the day with my intentions. It's starting the day with my spiritual work. Helps me chart my course. I'll give you another example. So there's some writing I've been doing for a couple of years, and it's not ready to be published. I don't have a publisher even. That'll be a next step probably, is looking for a publisher. I have a couple other ideas of how I want to get it published. I'm not even ready to speak about it yet, but some of my activity has been writing. And because I've been working on it for so long, there are several months sometimes when I put it down, and then I'll pick it up and then I'll write, several days in a week and then put it down. But what I've noticed that I've needed in that is the writing has been, first of all, it's been bringing me a lot of joy. It's brought me a lot of healing. But what I've realized is that I need more space in my schedule to write. In other words, I need more time to do nothing, to let the stories arise to the surface. There's stories, that are from my history and from my past and from my childhood and young adulthood. And there are so many, but I've learned that I have to have enough headspace for them to come forward. And if I'm, running all over everywhere and doing everything, that can't come forward for me. So, I made the decision from September through December, some courses that I've taught for years online, I'm going to discontinue. I don't know for how long, but I know what my goal is, and I know my priority is making time for myself and not filling it with something else. Time to allow the stories to come forward. And I've noticed they come forward when I'm out in nature, when I'm by a creek or near the water, or when I'm on a walk in the woods or skipping a rock across a pond. That's when the stories come forward. So a priority for me is time and space just to be. And that's hard for me because I love serving other people. I love supporting other people. I love my clients and my courses and my church that I serve in Tampa. It's just, I love all of it. But I'm really being asked by God, by the universe, the God of my understanding, to make time to do this. And I can tell if I do not make time to do this, I will be out of alignment with what I am to be doing. So this is a new priority for me. This is a new priority. And what I love about this priority is that it'll be self-care for me. It will be fun for me. It will be a little bit of an adventure because it will include being out in nature even more, which is something that always gives me energy. It's something that always blesses me. I never go outside and go, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done it. I always go outside and go, oh, this feels amazing. In the rain, in the cold, in the heat, it doesn't matter. I love being out. I love being outside. And just being outside. You know, when we were little, we would just go out on the back porch and just listen to the birds for a few minutes. That was considered an activity. We didn't always have to be on this little phone like it's so controlled. We're like, gosh, we're like children on these phones. Like we just had space to think and let ideas come forward, and we'd even like learn to differentiate what bird was what by the song. My mom knew all that. So why am I saying all this? I'm saying I know that setting this priority is going to bring back a really important energy into my life and help me be a better person. Help me be a more loving person. Help me accomplish something that I believe God is asking me to accomplish. Something that brings me a great deal of joy, a great deal of peace. So that's how I know it has to be a priority, is that the feeling nature when I do it is so positive. But it's taken a while to discern what that was. I didn't know it right away. When I was first writing, I would just kind of write on days I felt a little down or maybe I was sad. Another day, I would talk to a family member and it would remind me of something, and I would, write another little story down. So now it's become a healing activity. Well, healing my soul is my top priority. So, yes, I'm setting new priorities for myself. What matters most? And I've heard from a couple of people, we are going to do a show later, but I've had a couple of people ask questions recently. One who's taking care of an elderly family member, elderly partner, and another who's just learned of a health challenge in their family. And we want to be able to support you in this. And even in this show, I want you to think about in both of these things, what are the most important things for you to be doing with your time and energy as you address these things, from your heart and soul? What is the top priority for you? Because when you're dealing with illness or an aging spouse or family member, this can be a very, very difficult time. And it can feel very isolating. It can feel bewildering. It can feel shocking, and it can even cause some to lose their faith because they don't understand what's happening. So I want you to know that even in those situations, what I'm talking about, setting your priorities, it's not about business. It's not only about relationships. It's about everything. You taking your life to God and saying, help me sort this. There's another song I keep thinking of. We may have to add it to one of the songs on the one of the songs in the show notes. It's called "Order My Steps." Order my steps in your word it's a gospel song. Order my steps. Order my steps. Many days that's been a prayer of mine. Like, God, I have a lot to do today. Please order my steps. What am I saying? Help me set my priorities because my mind is everywhere. Help me from the soul. Help me guide my life. Help me set the course of my life today. And sometimes, friends, when life feels hard, we can only go one day at a time. Sometimes in the morning, we can only decide until lunch. Sometimes at noon, we have to ask again. But learning to trust God at this level, learning to go to God to help you chart the course of your life and your day, like I say, sometimes even your morning, is going to bring you a sense of spiritual purpose and a peace, and it will help you do the thing that matters most. Also, in those situations, if you're caring for a family member or whatever that caretaking may be, what is so important is that you, as the caretaker, also care for yourself. So if you're caring for someone, I want you to absolutely make sure you're also caring for yourself, getting support for yourself, taking time for yourself. Might be making an appointment to talk to someone. It might be doing an activity out of the house where you can get a break and the person you're caring for have someone else come in for a few hours. In the ministry world, we call that respite care, so that you don't get so tired and you don't get so overdone with the situation that you begin to do and say things you don't mean. We want you to get supported and loved as you walk through this journey. So this setting priorities, friends, is not some pie in the sky. Let's set the course of our life and go for it. Setting priorities is deeply spiritual. It is deeply meaningful because it means you're seeking to live on purpose. You're seeking to live a God-centered life, a spirit-filled life, and you're going to do everything you can to do what matters most in every given day. In other words, you're going to seek to live on purpose, to allow yourself to be guided, and to maybe, perhaps, try something new, to move into the flow of what's most important rather than having your energy everywhere. I always talk about that because I can easily go into that. And it is an effort for me to set priorities and stay with them. But what I know is when I do, it is totally a gift to me. It is a gift to my family because I'm more grounded. I'm more well-rounded. I'm certainly more at peace and in my joy. And of course, this is what we want, right, friends? We want peace. We want joy. So just taking some time, it might be that you just take a few deep breaths every morning. It might be that you do it with your first cup of coffee. It might be that you just take out a pen as you drink your coffee, as you take a few deep breaths. It could even be 3 deep breaths, 5 deep breaths, 10 deep breaths. And then say, God, order my steps today. What is most important for me? And just write it down. Write it down and do your best to do that. But start working that day by day, moment by moment. Set those priorities so that as you move forward, you will know you're on purpose, because as you go back at the end of the day, you can look at that paper and say, oh my goodness, I was able to accomplish these things. Doing this helps me stay on track. It helps me do what matters most rather than let my attention go everywhere. So friends, as much as I love that you listen to us on your phone or on your computer, please take time away to be quiet and to listen. Please take time to do what matters most. And if you're not sure what that is, take time to recenter, to ask, and then to follow that direction. To follow that direction with a lot of confidence, to follow that direction with a lot of love and peace, and see how as you do that, every single day you do it, you're going to get better and better at it because you're learning to listen to that inner voice. It's the voice we call the soul, and it is God working in and through that soul to help you set those priorities. I also want to encourage you to listen to some of the songs that we're going to put in the show notes, and those should be everywhere. And they're great songs. They're inspirational. One is called Thank You, God, for Everything. I remember there was months where I listened to that thing, 10 times a day. And it just always moved me in my spirit to just be in gratitude. Yeah, just be in gratitude. So there are a lot of great songs in there. One's called Awake My Soul, and one's kind of a country slash rap with Carrie Underwood and Ludacris. So I think you'll really enjoy all the songs. But friends, please keep in mind that God loves you, God wants to support you, and that you have the power, you have the authority to really live from the soul. And as you seek to do this, as you seek to set the priority to live and accomplish what matters most, you're going to bring a lot of peace, a lot of joy, and a lot of blessing into your life. And of course, this is our hope for you. This is our prayer. So friends, please know how honored we are to share your journey. We thank you for reaching out. We thank you for your financial support. It keeps us on the air. And we just thank you for listening and for honoring us with your trust. So blessings on the journey, dear friend. And I look forward to seeing you very soon.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. This podcast is made possible because of listeners and viewers just like you. If you would like to support the podcast with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head on over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Experience of the Soul podcast is copyright 2024 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved, and is produced by Sean Kilgore. A production of the Soulworks Group, Incorporated. Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience, with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.